me begin with a question to the audience. Who here enjoys music? I see a resounding yes, and that's quite fascinating. You see, one person might enjoy painting, the next a good book, or being out in nature, or solving a puzzle. Yet it seems music is this one activity that all people from all over the world gravitate to. The most famous events in our cinema, the greatest historical moments, even our brains are accompanied by this invisible superpower that I attempt to unravel today. Music heals, it electrifies, it changes the world around. But why? You see, music is a language, or a survival adaptation, if you will. After all, evolution does favor our behavioral characteristics just as much as the physical ones. Our ancestors, who could articulate their thoughts better, perhaps through the song or through the voice, have found themselves with a much greater survival probability. Or perhaps parents will sing lullabies to their children to keep them calm. The list goes on. And from a 2011 paper by Lera Berditsky, a cognitive scientist, she writes that languages shape the way we think. How we communicate the surroundings of our world affects how we interpret them. Take the languages and music produced across the world. Our interpretation of words and the meaning to them differs from culture to culture, just like our interpretation of musical sounds. Humans are also born with a natural inclination to music and language too, under desire, communicating what we both desire and don't. We are born with a natural inclination to music, to picking up rhythms, melodies, and sound. Even newborn infants will know this. But it seems that it is society and the world around that are shaping our perceptions of all music. We are almost in a way told exactly what's music to deem as happy, sad, good, bad, full, or empty. So how can something so subjective be changing our world? Well, you see, music reflects the backgrounds of people who shaped it. Music is the effect, not the cause. I disagree. Look to the world around us. It's a very musical one at that, and one that's constantly changing. In the book Abstractions and Empathy by Wilhelm Wöhringer, he makes the point that the styles we are attracted to always reflect a quality we think is missing in our society. Take the recent genre of hip-hop music. It's mainstream now. It's produced and listened to all across the world. Some of your favorite artists might even come from there. But before the fame and glory, this music had a much smaller start. It began in the 1970s in New York at house parties and block parties where music was common, pop music specifically. And what was playing this music, you ask? Records. Records, that's what. Records would be sampled, looped, a drum beat would then be added. An MC would talk over the sample in a rhythmically sensible way. You see, to the average listener, this was tarnishing their beloved music. An innocent song was dismembered into short bars. The orchestral melodies we all know and love are drowned by the constant booming of voice and drum. You see, this is exactly how rap intends to sound. It replaces those familiar sounds to us. You see, rap music, especially in its earlier days, was regarded as the sound of the Black experience in America. It's reflective of traditional African music, typically comprised entirely of voice and drum, which was the same thing taken away from their ancestors during the slave trade in favor of Western music. Hip-hop has essentially turned this whole thing on its head. It was created by a culture who felt a hole needing to be filled. And it's the same reason why all across the world, in Brazil, Iceland, India, our homeland of Canada, have all felt a connection to this, and is a necessary change. You see, hip-hop is not just a message, it's a method of art people believe is lacking in the part of the world. Music is a fashion, or a style, as Wilhelm would have put it. And now we get to live in a world where the fashionability of music has become so widespread. No two people anymore will be listening to the same things. No two will have the same music taste. But if you were born in Beethoven's time, you would have been lucky to have heard 2 symphonies in your entire life, says musicologist Michael Spitzer. Looking even further back to our ancestors' time as hunter-gatherers, they would have lived nomadic lifestyles. Now, music still existed through instruments, but instruments were few and far between. They had to be extremely portable. Songs were also not remembered nor rehearsed. They were never meant to be performed twice. They were fabricated on the spot, as I like to call music of the moment. These would be performed for ceremonial purposes, such as the end of a hunt, the completion of a new village encampment, or to mourn the death of a loved one. We can observe evidence of this in our modern day through the Pygmy tribe in West Africa, who continue a nomadic lifestyle today. When researchers have watched them perform, it does sound different each time, whatever song they may be playing, but it is played with voice and rhythmic sticks alone. Historically, it would have only been much later when humans settled into groups, discovered farming and society, and built societies, that music changed significantly. Agrarian societies obsessed over the repetition of things, the circle of life, the cycle of the seasons, and the need to recreate songs. This is where we see musical notation take place. Scales, patterns, the defining forms of music that you all learn in your little music lessons are thanks to this great leap in human advancement. As social classes arise, music becomes a tool to serve the top of the hierarchy. The ruling class, religious institutions. Music also becomes professionalized, a job, if you will, to perform to those with leisure time. And these are the first concerts. But the working class enjoyed music too. However, with little time and money to spend on concerts, it makes its way into their daily work activities. Laboring groups form participation music, which is music where the musician and the audience are one in the same. This is where a great divide begins throughout the world of music. For the wealthy, it's a symbol of status. For the poor, it's a direct reflection of their daily lives. Starting from the dawn of civilization, these two types of music colliding through time have shaped every single piece of music, every single style of music that you know today. As societies grow, the lower class become less poor. They can now create cultures, and music is the backbone to those cultures. Today, we call this folk music. If you or your family are in touch with your heritage, chances are you've heard some folk music from your culture, or perhaps another's. And may I take a guess as to where you first heard that recording on? Possibly on recording. See, the presence of recorded sound was what made affluent music the mainstream. The first pop music, which is contemporary music appealing to a wide audience. What we now call Billboard 100, hundreds of years ago were called the works of Bach, Beethoven, and Handel. However, ironically enough, the very first song ever fully recorded was the popular French folk song, Au clair de lune. Music has been the forefront for economic change, but how about political? Militaries are led by the booming of drums and the shattering of horns. How about citizens and their nations? In the modern time, our friends stand for their national anthems. Political parties attract voters, usually at campaigns accompanied with music. Sometimes, when music is played at such volumes, we lose touch and lose the understanding of it. Music can turn us to a state of hysteria. Music affects the heart and the emotions more than the intellect. Where then could the heart of a nation beat strong in the huge masses in which the heart has found its true home? I'm quoting a much less than remarkable historical figure. That's Joseph Goebbels, the propaganda minister of the Nazi Party. And it's true though, there is nothing more charismatic than a good tune. To pit people against each other, to start a revolution, to spread a message. And as quality of life and our pool of knowledge has expanded, we begin to return to our nomadic roots in music. Everyone is now, again, at a more equal footing in their ability to listen to create music. Who knows what music we'll discover and formulate next? Well, the digital age gives us a little insight to this. We can now stream nearly an infinite number of songs at incredible quality with the use of computers. Modern technology has allowed for music to be expressed in more extreme ways than ever before. Putting on a pair of headphones or your AirPods, you can enter a world where you and only yourself are entranced in the musical experience. Or we could scale it up. Take big speakers and fill them in a concert hall. We can connect people together better than ever before. See, our relationship with music is strong and wondrous. It's a second language to us. A fashionable item, constantly evolving. A tool for power and perspective. It's the invisible superpower changing the world. Thank you very much.